With Forza Horizon 6 imminently coming up on the, Horizon, now is a good time for newcomers and returning players to get up to speed with the Forza Horizon story thus far.
Oh yeah, I know what you're thinking. Why is Guillermo del Toro putting on that voice? But also, what story? It's Forza Horizon. The only story is the one where you keep getting your ass beaten by someone's drivatar and keep getting angry at them as if they're responsible. You probably only put Horizon on for 20 minutes a year just to check it's still there. But what if I told you that the Forza Horizon series does have a strong narrative through line, that it is, in fact, an epic of biblical ambition?
Welcome to Horizon.
First of all, it's a persistent universe full of recurring characters and callbacks, but more importantly, the story of Forza Horizon is about a bitter clash between two competing visions for civilization. A battle not just for a place on the podium, but for the very soul of humankind. Rendered in chrome and destructible fence posts, it stretches out before us, and we know for a fact it will continue in and has massive implications for Forza Horizon 6. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's go back to where it all starts, in Colorado. It's the halcyon summer of 2012. America's breadbasket shudders to the piston-knocking thump of EDM as the devoted gather in tents, sweating and writhing to the sermons of disc-spinning beat shamans. But they're not here to hail the DJ. This is the Horizon Festival, and these are no ordinary revelers. Their drug of choice is the sensory rush of proper speed, and the real danger that it could all go horribly wrong in a split second. This is America. This is the cult of the motor car. Colorado 2012 is not the first Horizon Festival. The reigning champion Darius Flint has dominated the competition in 3 previous years. What's significant about 2012 is the clarion call made to all the region's petrol heads. Come forward and race your dinky little runabouts against some proper legends. A call answered by the owner of such, a gorgeous 1995 Volkswagen Corrado VR6 with a slightly wonky timing belt,
Timing's off.
but crucially a driver with a lot of gumption and a wardrobe full of plain copyright safe t-shirts. The original Forza Horizon game is the quintessential American hero's journey. A young man with a head full of dreams and a tank full of mid-grade, taking on a succession of bigger fish in better cars. But the trials of one driver battling up the ranks of a racing competition are a mere civil skirmish in the grand scheme of car culture. Untested faith is the spiritual equivalent of a service station sandwich. The cult of the motor car isn't just here for the gladiatorial dance of Stigs and hot shoes, battles in which a car always wins, like how the World Cup is always won by a football team. Ever notice that? No, the car is here to take scalps. Aeroplanes, helicopters, even hot air balloons. Anything that dares look down on tarmac is fair game for having its face rubbed in it. The first of these showcase events, the first ever, would be a legendary tussle between Mustangs. A 1970 Ford Mustang Boss 429 taking on a P-51 Mustang fighter plane, each a vision of America's core identity. The very symbol of US air superiority in World War II pitted against an iconic muscle car, an expression of raw V6 power that has the fuel efficiency of a steamboat and corners like one, representing America's determination to always stay the course no matter the cost, if only because your rear axle might as well be a tree. To paraphrase Margaret Thatcher, turning is for soyjacks and Europeans. That first battle of pistons between the car and its bewinged cousin proved unequivocally that the Horizon Festival wasn't just another stuffy, tedious exhibition of spinning wheels like Formula 1 or cheese rolling, but something of grander spiritual purpose.
Cynics may point out that it's functionally little more than a time trial set against a particularly overblown screensaver, but cynicism is not the American way.
The motor car would flex its cranky muscles against skybound opponents on several more occasions during Colorado 2012. More planes, helicopters, and the aforementioned race against a hot air balloon, a vehicle which you can't steer and whose only speeds are gentle ascent and slow plummet. I mean, you might as well race a jar of Swarfiga. The endless endless stretch of pristine tarmac that is America is the car's natural stomping ground, a lion in its very own Serengeti.
In landlocked Colorado, the reign of the car is undisputed. In order to keep spreading its gospel, the Horizon Festival would have to look beyond the spiritual home of the automobile to somewhere where the municipal transport links are so good, a lot of people don't even bother learning to drive at all, the weirdos.
Forza Horizon 2. Miles and miles of coastal highway set across two of the most car-loving nations outside of the USA. France, home of the pokey little hatchback, and Italy, motherland of the mid-engined sports car. The twin poles of the motoring experience, glistening in the gorgeous orange sun that once shone on the Roman Empire, a rich cultural backdrop for flinging a Ford Capri's arse around a gelato spot. Horizon 2014 would eschew the idea of a centrally located car show operating in parallel with regular life, preferring to balloon into this impossibly vast, virtually endless, infinitely budgeted festival with multiple locations incorporating elements of that most civilized, politely European form of motorsport, the Grand Tour, or if you prefer, the road trip.
In 100 yards, turn left.
And the showcase events returned in style, kicking off with an opportunity for military planes to save face as the Italian Air Force's Frecce Tricolore display team face off against a 2003 Ferrari Challenge Stradale. Mirroring the Mustang versus Mustang race from 2012, these are twin symbols of Italian pride. I mean, aside from the pinch emoji and match-fixing scandals. Flamboyant aeronautics versus spectacular engineering. The car wins, obviously, as it does against several dozen hot air balloons in a bizarre rematch that nobody asked for. It's clear, of course, that the car and the plane are not natural rivals. They have a shared heritage in the likes of Rolls-Royce, Mitsubishi and Saab, among others, but they need not share their respective domains. The car's greatest adversary is not skybound, but another creature cursed to crawl the earth. Not the motorcycle, which is just a car for people who think they're too good for lanes, nor is it the pedestrian or an Aggie cyclist with a helmet cam and a TikTok channel. It is something that is antithetical to everything the car represents. Self-reliance, taking to the open road with your trusty steed, the ability to simply get out the motor and have a cheeky KFC.
The serpent that slithers on fixed tracks despises these virtues. It is everything the car exists to overcome. The most bitter feud in transport is between this and that.
Trains are subsidised mass transport with inadequate luggage space and elbow room. The train is a prison of the mind and body. In short, cars equal freedom, sexy time, eagles. Trains equal socialism and having to stop for other people. But for all their rigidity and inflexibility, trains are shockingly fast. Untroubled by the concept of split-second manoeuvrability, the train is a Victorian moon rocket laid on its side, pointed in a binary direction, and ignited with Lucifer's flatulence. Where the car's power is measured in horses, a train's power can be measured in cars. So it comes as no surprise that the very first showcase featuring a train, in this case a race between a sleek, steam-powered passenger locomotive and a gorgeous 1968 Lancia, is a neck-and-neck battle that comes down to fractions of a second. Classic train versus classic car. Old world sensibilities versus modern, self-driven convenience. And the car did win in 2014, but the narrowness of that victory would leave an overhanging sense of unfinished business. The 2014 season would go on to feature more aeronautic spectacle, culminating in the epic showdown between heavyweights of their respective circles. A 2012 Jaguar SKRS in a rain-soaked punch-up with an honest-to-goodness cargo plane. An altogether more civilised affair than the instigating Barney that saw twin Mustangs spiralling down a dusty hill, but nonetheless a breathtaking square go.
Inspired by the golden sunshine and coastal beauty of the Riviera, but probably unwilling to endure another European drenching, the next Horizon Festival would take place in southern Australia.
With its diverse mix of coastal urbanity, farmland and bush, Horizon Australia would set a new standard of shock and awe for the Motor Festival. In tying its showcase events to its social media followers, the Horizon organisers created a winning feedback loop of fan engagement and ever higher stakes. The road car would pit itself once again against the usual jets and helicopters, but see its now traditional bout against large bags of gas replaced by the intense visual feast of a dinky two-cylinder off-road buggy facing off against an enormous low-flying airship. A race featuring heart-stopping jumps and a stalking sky shark reminiscent of the opening shot of Star Wars. And with the road car taking a back seat, there was now a sense that this latest slap fight between land and sky constituted a more friendly banter between colleagues than genuine rivalry, with neither side having anything left to prove. Pacific Florida's keen water sporting traditions would inspire a new kind of race. The River Run showcase proved that there could be genuine competition between vehicles that operate on entirely different principles and infrastructure, by having a tricked out Toyota Baja truck race in parallel against a load of powerboats. But once again, the most bitter of all competitions this year would be road versus rail. The Freight Expectations showcase, as well as being a good pun,
It's a freight train.
would summon the unassailable power of the diesel locomotive in an attempt to humble the motor car, specifically in this case the unapologetically American 2015 Chevrolet Camaro.
With the train grudge ever prominent, it's probably no surprise that the Horizon Festival would eventually make its way to the United Kingdom. A damp archipelago with horizontal rain and barely enough money in the treasury to fix potholes, but with a motoring heritage second only to its status as the birthplace of the railway.
Taking place in an inexplicably truncated Great Britain where Edinburgh is somehow the only major settlement and a 5-minute drive from the Cotswolds, 2018's Horizon Festival would once again feature a slew of showcase events. The Vulcan vs Vulcan heritage race featured a Vulcan bomber jet pulling apocalyptic turns against an Aston Martin Vulcan, both proud symbols of British engineering, and maritime excursions continued to form part of the proceedings now, with an iconic mud wrestle between a Toyota Baja truck and an honest-to-goodness hovercraft, providing a curious challenge to the bewheeled automobile, a boat that can go on roads, a land boat, an abomination, in other words, a race demonstrative of the fact that the ancient forest of Britain is as indifferent about the automobile as it is about the seasons. This land belongs to the Druids. There are no temples here for the cult of the car. This is the home turf of the train, and the most famous one of all would be chosen to represent rail in its ongoing grudge against road. The Flying Scotsman, 70 feet of furnace at the head of some of the most luxurious cabins in passenger transportation. It stands in sharp contrast to the aerial Nomad racing against it. A rocket-powered shopping trolley engineered to be as light as possible to attain roughly the same horses per tonne as a Ferrari F430. Again, this is a clash of ideologies, raw, singularly applied power versus overbearing decadence. The car wins, obviously, and crucially can further demonstrate its supremacy by heading through the nearest drive-through for a McFlurry, which would incidentally be more in keeping with Britain's existing car culture than Horizon's distinctly American flavour of it. Big, bombastic, and brimming with sponsorship cash. In contrast, British car culture is mostly 9 dudes in a Mackey's car park revving a demuffled Renault Clio.
Having presumably written off the entire British experiment as a bad idea, along with most of the Commonwealth, the next Horizon Festival would make a gleeful return to sun-soaked coasts and food you can actually taste.
Mexico, a blistering coast-to-coast road trip of a festival with stunning beaches, vast stretches of roomy highways, and even a volcano. There couldn't have been a more deliberate contrast with Great Britain. With an enthusiast car culture rivaling the USA's, Horizon 2021's showcase events would become more involved than ever before, with the inclusion of expeditions, making a grand spectacle out of not just motorsports, but of the very land hosting it. Mexico would provide a car versus train grudge match for its final showcase event, with a pallet-swapped Horizon 3 freight train returning to set the record straight against the heartbreakingly iconic Lamborghini Countach, possibly the most beautiful supercar ever designed. Guaranteed this thing spent the 80s pinned up on more bedroom walls than Farrah Fawcett. In Mexico's Copper Canyon, a breathtaking landscape of enormous economical and ecological importance to the country, and therefore the perfect stage for an absurdly wasteful contest between gas-guzzling apples and carbon-belching oranges. In a shocking narrative twist, the car wins again, and to do so with a Lamborghini Countach as its champion adds a grave insult to this particular defeat, given that it is an automobile whose natural advantages over rail are greatly diminished by the fact that it's too wide for drive-through and has the turning circle of a small moon. The next Horizon Festival is just around the corner, and it has once again chosen as its backdrop a rain-soaked island nation famous for its castles, its constitutional monarchy, its historically antagonistic relationship with all of its immediate neighbours, and an intricate culture of weaponised politeness. No, not Britain again, thank God, but a fresh start in what is widely considered to be the global capital of street racing, Tokyo, and the wider region of Kanto in Japan. Home to as many storied car brands as the UK, but with a much healthier automotive industry to actually support that heritage, Japan counts as the car's home turf as much as anywhere else possibly could. And yet, this is hostile ground, for it is also a country whose homegrown category of superfast railway serves as a piece of national branding. A landmark every bit as iconic as France's Eiffel Tower, Italy's Colosseum, or Britain's replacement bus services, the Shinkansen. Globally admired as the bullet train, this is 700 tons of pristine passenger transport hauled at speeds approaching 200 miles per hour. Smoothly tipped, polished, and gleaming like something from Ann Summers ramming itself through the countryside, this is the apex of locomotion. If municipal rail is Skynet, Shinkansen is its T1000. Terrifying, undefeatable, and surprisingly polite.
Thanks for your cooperation.
And also fully electric, which even in a world mid-pivot toward hybrid hypercars and poxy iPhones on wheels, feels like an existential challenge to the cult of the motorcar, backed with technological spite.
In an ever uncertain future for the role of personal transport, the Great White Serpent of Nippon is the final boss of trains.
With not a single power plant at the tip, but a distributed system of electric motors throughout the length of its 16 carriages, the bullet train evokes a sense of society to which the car does not belong. Thousands of moving parts, shifting people in unison, not directly to all of their exact destinations, not door to door, but broadly in a similar direction, benefiting everybody.
Shinkansen is the embodiment of the very concept of collectivism. That is why it must be crushed. I know exactly what people are going to be saying. Bro, how are you going to film a video about Forza leaning on that car? But I know it's not a Lancer, but it's still a Mitzi, alright? Best I can do. Keep it IGN and check out our recaps playlist for even more franchise lowdowns, such as our comprehensive Resident Evil catch-up. And if you want them to start giving me Lancer money, check out the Trinker Perspective. It's my playlist, it's really good. Right, that's it. Catch you later.